People, bonjour, Bonnet Jarvis in the building. Hold tight, D-Rag, Henry, and Hat Kevin. You feel me? Barbers, you don't see us soon. Hope everyone's feeling good right now. What we're going to do actually is we are actually going to speak about an album that is #1 on the Billboard charts right now. I do believe it sold 170 something odd units. You get me? Big boy numbers. We're going to talk about a creator. You get me? A producer, a rapper who came to us with an odd future. Yes, we're going to talk about Tyler, the Creator. We're going to talk about Call Me If You Get Lost. You feel me? We're going to talk about my guy. A lot of people are saying that this album is his best album. A lot of people are saying that, bro, we see this, like, if we're the critics love it. Pitchfork gave it best music of the week. Guardian gave it 5 stars. A lot of people are raving about this album. And I know you boys in particular, like as of recently, like as you guys know, I've been a Tyler fan for like literally a decade. But you guys, as of recently, start to get more and more into Tyler, the Creator. So let me throw it to Kay actually. What are your thoughts of this album?
It's actually quite interesting as well. I feel like it got better the more that I listened to it, but it hasn't reached that level of where the critics have put it up. Like, I don't think it's like a 10 out of 10 or a 5-star album. I think like it's a like 7. I think it's a good album, but there's also records like Corso for me, which I think is just terrible. Like Corso is shit. And DJ Drama's shouting, I mean, it worked. Like Gangsta Grizzles, like
Gangsta Grills,
like there's certain moment where it doesn't work, like I think in the beginning, but then on the other track towards the end of the album where it worked. But what I really liked about the album is this records like Massa, Mazza or Manifesto, and I think Lumberjack is one of those records as well. And especially records like Manifesto and Mazza, like they're very mature record for like Tyler creates, and also Wisha when he's talking about like love and being in this like love triangle and the problems that arise in it as well. Like it's very sort of mature songwriting for Tyler the Creator, something that I haven't experienced, but then again, I haven't heard Flower Boy and Igor properly, which is something that I need to do. But one thing also that I also love about the album is just how sonically, like, it's so diverse in a way, and the records are not all the records are not that long. Like they stay perfectly in terms of the sort of how long they're playing there. But also another big rap of mine, to summarize also, is also not like some of the records are not, they don't grab, they're not like air candy, if I can put it the best word. Like they're not sonically amazing or beautiful, and also the lack of songwriting or concept that flows with the album kind of makes things very repetitive, especially the first half of the album. But other than that, I still think it's a good album. I don't think it's a terrible album, and I think it does have some great records like those that I mentioned. So it's not bad. It's actually good, I would say.
Okay, all right, that's fair. That's a fair point. Obviously, Henry, me and you have had our discussions throughout the week.
Yeah.
About our thoughts on this album. My guy, what are your thoughts? Tell us, share it with the people then.
Well, I can't lie, I'm bitterly disappointed, you know. Yeah, this album's not shit, yeah, but it's not what I expected it to be. Now for me, obviously Jay, you kind of put me on Tyler. I wasn't sort of a massive Tyler fan in the beginning, but I think, you know, when you put me on Flower Boy like 3 years ago, I listened to that and I was just like, wow, I was blown away. And then obviously I took a look at his other albums, or the other albums that he made before.
Yeah.
And even though they weren't as good as Flower Boy, I could see that this guy had something.
Yeah.
Like even the album before Flower Boy, what was it called, Jay?
Cherry Bomb.
Cherry Bomb, yeah.
Yeah, that has some great records on it. So, you know, Tyler's sort of ascendancy kind of started from that album, the album that I just mentioned. What was it?
Cherry Bomb.
Cherry Bomb, yeah. And then obviously I love Flower Boy, and then 2 years later he followed it up, or I think 1 year later he followed it up with Igor.
Igor, yeah.
And, yeah, I thought Igor was a phenomenal album. Like I didn't think that he could top Flower Boy, but he definitely sort of did with Igor. And then, you know, from that I was expecting another classic, you know, and so obviously maybe my expectations were a bit too high, because it's rare for someone to have like three classics in a row. Only probably Kanye's done that in recent memory.
Yeah.
But yeah, so maybe obviously it was my fault for placing too much expectations on my man. But yeah, this album for me is just not it, man. Like I've tried to sort of get into it, but I just can't. You know, I definitely understand what he was trying to do in terms of like the mixtape concept, you know, with the drama. But for me, after a while, it just gets jarring. You know, it's just too much. Because I thought, like, when I heard the first track, remember, Kate, when I heard the first track, yeah, maybe a week before the album dropped, yeah, I thought that it was a one-off. Like, I thought that the whole DJ drama thing was just like a. I didn't expect to. It
was here to stay in. It was there to stay.
Yeah. And even with that track, I wasn't really feeling it. But I said, you know what? Let me just give it a try, because you know sometimes like you can hear a track here, you can hear it like a single off of an album, but then obviously if you hear it in the context of the album, it sounds a lot better. Yeah. So yeah. So I said, you know what? Let me not place too much expectations on this track. Let me just give it a try. But yeah, like nah, man, I just can't get into it. There are some great records on this album, like Massa. I really liked the other track as well, Wilshire, and even the one with Lil Wayne, Hot Wind Blows.
Yeah, Hot Wind Blows not bad, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the one with Domino Genius was also alright.
Yeah, Maladomo, fam.
Yeah, Domo Genius. I thought that was alright, but in the grand scheme of things, man, I'm not really feeling this album, and I don't think it's something I'm gonna go back to. And it's kind of mad because the critics are loving it, and I've seen some. To be honest with you, I've seen some blasphemous scores. You know. 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. I'm thinking, what are you? You know, but everyone is entitled to their own opinion. But me personally, man, I'm not feeling this one whatsoever.
Do you know what? Yeah, like I don't know. Maybe us, man, we're smoking something, or we're not seeing something, or hearing something or something. Like I told Harry, maybe we need a different profession, didn't it? Because honestly, we don't know what we're talking about. Because I agree in it with both of you, man. Like I actually don't think this album I don't think it's incredible by any means necessary. Like as I've said, and as you man know, like I've been listening to Tyler Creator since I was like in sixth form, like from like bastard days all the way up to now, in it. So I've kind of seen like his development and his growth as not only a musician, as a producer, and as like a songwriter. And one thing that I can definitely say about this album that I get from the critics angle is it has a lot of elements from different Tyler albums. So for example, like a track like Lumberjack is like the early, like not Yonkers, but the early, like probably like Goblin era, Bastard era, where it was just like punchy, energetic, straight, like rowdiness. You get me?
Yeah. And then same thing with the Pharrell record as well. Sorry, same thing with the Pharrell record as well. Yeah.
Literally same thing with the Pharrell record as well. And then you've got other cuts that are kind of like more Cherry Bomb, other cuts that are more Flower Boy, other cuts that are a bit more Eagle. So you can kind of understand where they're saying, oh, he's kind of got all of his albums and like condensed it into one. So basically, Tyler came off, for me, I feel probably the best album of, I think it came out in 2019, Eagle. Like literally, I think that album is immense. Like from top to bottom, it's flawless. It's absolutely flawless. So for him to go from that, obviously won a Grammy off that, like for him to go from that to this, like I understand maybe you want to reinvent yourself, you want to try something a bit different, but like Kevin says, there's no themes to it. There's that people say there's themes, I don't see it. There's no themes to it that I can take. There's not really a strong narrative. Like he's got bars he can spit. That's good. I feel like he's rapping better than he's ever rapped.
Yeah. Some of the maturity is crazy with some of the records. I'm like, oh,
mental. Rapping, Wilshire. Like for me, I like Safari. What he said, what did he say in Safari? I'm gonna take my nephew to Nice. He was like, who? I was like, we.
Yeah. Hat dropping it.
That was stop it, Tyler. Stop it. Stop it. You get me? He's rapping better than he ever has. But like in terms of like an album, it's just not amazing. Like that's the thing. Like it's not bad. It's not trash. But it's just not amazing, man. For me, that's it. It just falls short. Like you man are saying, bro. It just falls short. It's not like a memorable thing. Maybe I'll have an experience like Kay, where the more I listen to it, I'll be like, oh, do you know what? It's not too bad. You get me? Like, I remember Wilshire was on repeat for me. You get me? In repeat. riding through the car thinking, I might have to call my ex, bro. Like, this is a big boy song.
I don't want to be this love triangle anymore.
I don't want to do this love triangle. And then, hey, baby, listen, let me tell you something. We need to tell him about us. We need to tell him. But yeah, bro, I'm just not on board, man.
Tyler is the greatest troll in music, or he's one of the greatest troll in music.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's very hard to sort of, I don't know, understand or even to know if he's telling the truth or not telling the truth. But I feel like what's giving him the immense credit with the critic is his past 2 albums, and also not just that like this album is produced very well. Like it sonically, like it has changes of beat, and it has different varieties of instrumentations that like meshed in with this whole album. Like, and records don't run their course. Like they don't run their course. Okay. And I feel like that large part of it, from a production standpoint of view, when you execute an album from that perspective very well, 100% you are going to get a better score, because there's so many albums that are either the track listing is too long, or the records just, the idea of the records just fetter out. They don't work. They overstay, and none of the records on this album don't overstay, and some of it does sound good as well. So I think that has more help than him coming out as by or the credit for his past album. There's just a little bit of it, but I think that's my opinion, and that's the opinion.
Okay, do you know what? Yeah, Eagle had that though. Eagle was very like sonically, like, you know, experimental, and that wasn't rated nearly as high as this album. Like Eagle,
interesting. Yeah,
Eagle got like 81.
It got literally it got 81 on something like that.
Yeah. So it's like, and this has got like I think 89 or 90. So I don't know where, like, you know, Eagle's a much better album than this.
Much, and this is why I feel like why me and Henry are more disappointed in UK, because like bro, after this, I swear to God, listen to Eagle, listen to Flower Boy, like in entirety. Brother, it's mind blowing. You literally listen to it like, where has this Tyler been, fam? He's been there, fam. Like, incredible album, sequence well. Like you said, it's got those musical switch ups, instrumentation wise. Like, you get me. Tyler has obviously been very influenced by the Neptunes, and a lot of his stuff before sound very like programmed, computerized and such. Where obviously the sounds, you can hear it in this album, and you can hear it on Eagle and Flower Boy, where it's a lot more rich. And you can tell there's a lot more budget behind it. You feel me?
Yeah, 100%. Like this is like even like the sort of the jazzy sample sounds fucking expensive. Like they don't sound cheap. Like nothing on this album sounds cheap. But I hear what you man are saying, and I feel like judging critically most albums that you can mention that have been the greatest albums do have a strong concept or theme running through the songs of the album, and they are not as 50-50 or 60-40 or 70-30 as this album has, because I mean, obviously it's Call Me If You Get Lost. It sort of is a theme of love over here that's sort of running through it, but it doesn't happen towards the end of the album, I do think, as well. And I mean, we do get it If You Wanna with the R&B record, but I think that's the R&B record that sort of pops out of nowhere, because the first 2 records, he's just sitting there talking about this character that he's created, the Sir Boulevard character, whatever it may be as well. And he does get a bit deep with Wilshire, of course, but I mean, it's not like Eagle from what you man are saying. And I've seen the track listing on Eagle, and I've seen some of the themes in the idea where the concept is about heartbreak, and I believe that runs throughout the entire album, and you sort of do get a narrative feeling listening to it. So from what you man are saying, 100%, I do. Eagle should get that score rather than this one. From what you man are saying, and it does make sense. I think it does make sense. But I need to listen to Eagle to fully get that grab. But yeah, sometimes with critic score, it is what it is, isn't it? Like, you know, because some people like it. I mean, the only way we know, is just to like read their reviews and then to see why they gave the score. But yeah,
do you know what it is as well for me? I kind of feel like there was so much scope that he could have gone into with this album. I don't know
In
why
what
it feels like,
sense?
yeah, in a sense where, for example, you're talking about this character that is
So
essentially
Boulevard, I don't know. So I can't
Sir-
say his name. Yeah,
Sir Boulevard or whatever it is, which is like very inspired by, do you know, that classic Hollywood.
Wes
also-
Anderson. I think a lot of it's
Wes-
like Wes Anderson.
yeah,
Yeah, like
Wes
a lot of it's
Ander-
like Wes Anderson. Yeah, themes,
Wes
yeah.
Anderson vibes and stuff like that. But also, do you know, like these characters that are like set in like Switzerland? Or the
Yeah,
Alps, or
100%, 100%.
you get me? Like
100%.
there's so much scope that he could have gone into. Maybe it's like different sounds that were quite familiar.
Oh
with
yeah,
that type of
100%.
genre.
Okay, no, that's a very much true
Yeah.
because the sounds like you did say from the beginning does touch upon some of the stuff that he's done before. But you're saying he could have maybe extended that sonic palette, and I do agree with you. Like I feel like he could have pushed that boundary to even more. But then again, on this album, even though it is high budget, I think he produced all of it. I mean,
he does, yeah, all of them.
the only one record is Jamie XX, which is Rise. I think he's the only one that's working on that record as well, which is not a bad record. I don't think it was an amazing record, even though Jamie XX is like one of my favorite artists and producers. But yeah. Sorry, go on with your point. I do agree. He could have ventured out further. Yeah, I do agree with that.
And even this theme of "Call Me If You Get Lost," bro, fam, that's just so vast. You get me? That
100%.
could be heartbreak. It could be life. It could be so many things. Like even like in terms of like the industry, "Call Me If You Get Lost." Like, bro, I've made it. Now I'm rich as hell.
But it's interesting. He does point on that. He does tell the viewer on one of the record. I think it was one of the interludes where I think it was called Blessing. I think it was called when he's talking about like what's it called? Opening up a store, doing commercials and stuff like that. And it says, "Call me if you get lost." Essentially telling the viewers, you know what? Yeah, I figured it out. Like I'm doing what I'm doing. Call me if you get lost. Like I got the source to say. But like you're saying, he could have gone much further. And I do agree with you, but at the same time as well, it's very hard because it's not specific. Do you get me? Sometimes if you say, okay, this album is going to be about heartbreak, then you got specific themes that you can literally just punch through, and then you can sort of analyze the branches that come from that theme. Do you get me? So yeah, it's interesting. I feel like he could have done more. But he could have done more. I do agree with you on that.
Do you know what it is, Kay? He could have even done like a Kendrick. Do you know with Damn, where Kendrick was talking about a range of things, but they were on the same type of pyramid, where it's kind of like, damn, we're gonna talk about like emotions and feelings, like pride, love, and like all of that stuff. You get me? Like they're not actually linked together, but they are linked together.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, and "Call Me If You Get Lost" could have been this overarching theme, and then just gone into so many different areas where people are lost, and they need that helpline. You feel me?
Yeah. I mean, I agree with you, but I 100% agree with you, but. If we look at the discography of Tyler the Creator, maybe only up until like Eagle, he's never been an artist that kind of explored, the psyche or in an empathetic way. He's always been a shock artist. That's the DNA of Tyler the Creator, and some of his records still holds that. So it would have been interesting to sort of see him go deeper in the well. That he's starting to do from Flower Boy, actually. Over the time that he came out and called himself, he came to tell the world that he's bi, and which is an interesting surprise for an artist that essentially hated gay, said to the world they hated gay people. But again, that's part of Tyler the Creator. Like most of the time when he says and does these things, he just does it for shock. I mean, you don't know what the truth is or what not the truth. But again, that's a whole different point. But anyway, go on. Sorry.
But no, what I was gonna say, but bro, even with that, like I said, I've been listening to this guy for years, fam, and like. That's been him though. That's the thing.
Yeah, that's totally agree about.
Yeah, but it's in terms of like vulnerability and stuff. This guy's actually been very vulnerable from his very early albums. It was just more in the guise of, I'm gonna say, loads of wild stuff. And in that wild stuff, I'm gonna say something very deep about my dad leaving me when I was young. It's true though. Like he'll say loads of random deep stuff. Like I
hate you, I will kill you. My daddy don't love me.
literally. That's why I'm a bastard, because I fucked Erica in her ass. Like but like he has always been capable of doing these types of things. And I feel like similar to Flower Boy, he planted them seeds early, and as his career has gone on, he's grown, he's got better, he's aged like fine wine. You get me? And this album, like we've all said, it's not a bad album. It's a good album. It's got some very good themes and stuff like that. It's just not extraordinary. You get me? It's not extraordinary.
Great, he could have gone that deep, but it's interesting because, like, essentially, we are saying that there is a criteria or a way for someone for what constitutes to be a 5-star album. But then someone can always argue, and there's been bare example, and I've got some of examples of album that don't go that far and still are amazing. But I think, because I was thinking about that question literally that you asked. It's surprising that you asked, but I was thinking about it like, okay, Kev, you say that you don't like it. Okay, fair enough. But there are other albums that don't quite hit, that don't quite go as deep like this album, and that you think are amazing. And also, does an album need to go that deep for it to be amazing? And I think my best answer was like, I think with those albums, if the song was about beauty, it will sound incredibly beautiful. And that's what I would rate it. While with this album, it may not go that deep, but there's nothing for me that is like, oh my God, this sounds beautiful. Or, oh my God, this is that. And I think that's the reason why I give it the score that I give it. And I'm also surprised about the critic give it that high score. But maybe they think that it's beautiful. And that's why they gave it 5 star. I mean, and then again, this is like 5 critics that I highly rate as well, like 5 publications that I highly rate, and more others. Like, so you know what it is? Maybe we are the what's it called? The
anomaly.
Twisted, yeah, and be Fedora Twisted guys. You get me? Like, say if like Anthony Fantano was like, no, we don't fuck with that. You know, it's not that we don't fuck with it. He completely disliked, and he didn't like it. But maybe we are in that camp, and I think it's okay, because sometimes you can't. Sometimes it's not everything is for you, and it's okay, I guess, you know.
But
So
how many people this? I know obviously it's only been like a couple of weeks or like a week and a half, but how many people do you think will call this a classic? Like, is this going to be classified as a universal classic?
I saw it recently. Somewhere this hip hop publication.
It's not hip hop.
People got in the name, but whole track there with it. No, it wasn't Hip Hop DX, but something
Hip Hop DX, fam.
It wasn't them, but it was
Hip Hop DX, gang.
It wasn't them, but it was Sanasha. And they basically were saying, is this an instant classic? And I almost wanted to vomit, because I'm kind of like, brother, like you can't say these words. I kind of feel like some people are kind of jumping. This is what annoys me sometimes. Is I feel like Kevin is saying, when the freaking reputable publications say this album is the album, people just jump on it and be like, it's a classic straight away. You get me? They just throw it onto it straight away. It's been a week and a half. Let it sit. Let it breathe. Like Kevin was saying, maybe we're the black sheep. Maybe we're the anomaly where we just, like you said, it's not for us. We don't get it, and we can't take it in. You feel me? But with that being said, classic.
Jumpy's like, no.
VAR, fam.
Check the fucking
screen, fam. There's no way, fam. There's some foul play going on. What you saying, H?
I think at least one of us would have said that, you know, if it was truly, I'm not trying to say that we're the sort of like the meccas of the music industry and whatever, but like, one of us at least would have, you know, said that this is possibly a classic, you know what I mean? But none of us are saying it off the rip, in it. So, yeah, man, there's no way in hell this is, even if I listen to it 10,000 times, whatever, like, I'm not going to think this album's a classic. I'm not even going to think it's a good album. I'm just going to think that it's like mid, not like, like just decent. At the most, very most.
And I think that's it, fam. I feel like this is one of those. I feel like there is always that album that not really defies opinion, where there's like a minority of people who just are not for it. Like, for example, I'll probably say, actually, I wouldn't say Yeezus, because Yeezus was more divided in terms of.
Yes, 50-50, innit? A lot of people hated it, a lot of people liked it. It was just very. Actually, no, that's a good example, though. Yeezus is a good example, though. I think it's more divisive than this one. Like Yeezus was like, I think critics liked it more, but then there were some critics that didn't like it, and some people hated it, or some people liked it. Well, with this one, more people liked it, but we got obviously us that don't like it. So I think you can use it as an example in certain aspects. Yeah, it's
definitely one of those ones where I'd rather it's basically salt or sugar in it. Like, what do you prefer, type of thing? And maybe we're on a site where, bro, we're feeling a bit salty. You get me? Like, we're not feeling it. You feel me? Let's give it a score, bro. Let's go numbers. Henry, let's start with you, fam. What are you giving it out of 10?
Boy, a 6.
6, yeah?
Yeah.
Is that a high 6 or low 6?
That's a middle 6, bro. I can't
like firm 6.
Yes. I'm like I'm sitting on the fence, but No, to be honest, Tyler's even lucky to even get that. But
Well, you think it's actually that you completely don't like it at all.
I would have given it a low 6 slash high 5, but
Okay.
like, because Tyler's my guy in it, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt on this one, and say, and say that, you know what, maybe if I listen to it a couple more times, I might feel differently. But the most I'll give it is a high 6. So yeah, for now I'll just give it a mid 6. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay.
What are you saying, Kay?
Yeah, I mean, I'll give it a light 7. I think it's a good album. I don't think it's a classic, like I was saying earlier on. I feel like there's loads of good stuff about it, and there's not loads of stuff, but there's some stuff that I dislike about it. But other than that, I think it's a good album. And will that opinion change? I think in the beginning, I think I was in your camp, Jarvis, or maybe like H's camp. And then it kind of grew on me, but I don't think you've reached that level as the critic, and I don't think it's absolutely amazing. And I'm like, oh my God. But if it does, then I'll go on record to be like, yo, it's completely wrong. But for now, it's a light 7 for me.
I would say for me, I'm gonna give it probably the same score as H, and I'll give it like a mid, a 6.5 out of 10. I'm on that side. Like, I can see where it shines, and for me, I can see where it doesn't shine. Gangster kids. But you get me, guys. Let us know what you guys think. Are we just crackheads? Do we not understand music? Should we stop? Like, let us know right now. Let us know your thoughts. Please comment, rate, and subscribe. And guys, I do believe we've got some interesting videos coming out. Like, Kevin, you've been reviewing albums that you've recently been put onto, right?
Yeah. So albums that I've recently sort of found out, and that I've also discovered, and now people have told me about, and also new music that's been released, because there's so much records that get released that we somehow, and also records and albums and songs, sorry, that we don't get to review. So I just gave a little quick thoughts what I thought and what you lot thoughts as well. And yeah, you lot just comment and give your own opinion about it, because it's always interesting to know other people's opinion about music, especially because we all got different ears, as you've seen with this review. So yeah.
Give us a couple of names, man. Who's on the list? Just give us a little sneak peek.
So I got old album from Jill Scott, Van Morrison, and I got some new songs from Soulja Boy, She Make It Clap. She Make It Clap, like this, the new Pasadena record by what's her name? How can I forget? I actually really like Tinashe. Yeah, so those are some of the records as well. So yeah, that's the 4 that I mentioned so far. Yeah.
Wavy, and then obviously Henry is interviewing a very, very, very interesting up and coming artist. Henry, do you want to say a few words about that and what we could look forward to in that interview?
Yeah, obviously the interview should be out by next week. But yeah, I interviewed an artist called Cedric Kojo. He's a family friend of mine. Like, he's sort of in the mode of like Juice WRLD. He's very much like a melodic rapper. But yeah, no, he's really dope, and he just released this project like a month ago. So obviously, when you guys check out the interview, please go check out his project as well. Yeah, he's really dope, man, and yeah, like there's so much more for him to come. So you man, stay locked in.
That's it, my guys. That's it. You know me, I'm gonna be reacting to a lot more Pink Floyd and rock videos, my guys. So stay tuned. The Still Colours boys, we're active, we're busy, so stay tuned. All right. But with that being said, over and out, my people.
Yes.